Hello friends, welcome to SQL Server tutorial. In this video, we are going to see how to set default key for a specific column. So first, we will use SQL Server Management Studio. Then we will look into the TSQL script to set the default value. Here in the screenshot, if you see here, we are going to set default value for the experience column. And we will go with the default binding of 0. Some DB field will need to have a default value. So as already seen in the screenshot, if you see experience, so by default we can set experience as 0. So this avoids null entry while inserting the row. That means while inserting the row, if we skip the experience column for a specific employee, then instead of having a null value, the SQL Server will substitute the default value. So this avoids null entry during the insertion or when the record is created for the first time. But via update, you can change this default value to null. Why? Because if the column is not marked as not null, then it allows null. But default constraint states that when value is skipped, it will substitute the default, right? That's the two condition. So that means if you perform a update and substitute null, it will be still allowed. So while inserting the row, if you skip, then default will substitute it. So that's what called the default constraint. In this video, we will add default constraint to exp column of employee table using SQL Server Management Studio. Then we will set default value for salary column using the TSQL. So if you see, we are using the same employee table and we set exp to a default value using SQL Server Management Studio, and salary we will use a TSQL script to set a default value. Alright, now we will go to the demo. Now let's expand the database. CETube table is employee table. Test.employee. Here, if you see, we have the experience column, right? So the column at present have some value: 12-year experience, 21-year experience, 8-year experience, like this. So now what we will do, we will bring up the table designer. Then we need to set property for this exp, right? Experience. So I just selected that column. Here, if you see, default value binding, here I'm just typing 0 and hitting enter button. So here it is showing the asterisk mark. So we will click save. This will save the employee table. Now we have default value set to the exp column, right? Now we will go ahead with the TSQL script. So add default constraint. The statement is alter table. Here it is a table name. Add a constraint, just like what we did previously to add a primary key. This time we are using the add constraint. We are giving the constraint name. Instead of primary, here we are specifying default, and default value is 100. For what column? For the column salary. So alter table, table name, constraint, constraint name. Then what constraint we are adding? Default. What is the default value? 100. For what column? For the column salary, right? Now we will execute this. Command completed successfully. Now we added a default constraint for the salary column. Alright, so far we added 2 constraints, right? Now let's go to the constraints. Here the table name is employee. Expand this constraint and you can see df employee exp, df employee salary, right? This one we doesn't give any name, but it automatically took the value df stands for default constraint, table name employee, and column name exp. But here we manually created that constraint name. You can give any constraint name, but to be in sync with the standard, we named it as df table name and then column name. Df stands for a default constraint. All right. Now let's insert value and check how the default constraint works. Here, if you say insert into test.employee, right? So we are skipping this employee ID. Why? Because it's a identity column. So value will get inserted automatically. That's the primary key also for the employee table. Full name, we are giving it as Andrew Hudson, and country code is UK, and date of birth, here we are giving the date of birth. Sex is male. Experience we are skipping. Since we provided the default of 0, you will see the SQL Server will put a value of 0, and salary default is 100. So you can see here also. So this column will get automatically filled even though we doesn't have that in the column list here. Salary automatically get generated 100, and the bonus is a computed field, so we no need to insert that as well. Alright, now we will execute this insert statement. So you can see command succeeded successfully. Now we will select the employees. Here if you say identity column is automatically inserted, experience 0 because that's the default, right? We gave default as 0, then salary we gave default as 100. Just now you saw the demo. That's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.